And so we're on to our final card, and we're still going to be using the same bundle, the Something Fancy bundle, and the same paper, which is the, what is it, Delightful Desert? Let me double check. Delicate Desert paper. And this time I'm using this pattern of the paper. So in the same way that the last card could be done with the pale papaya and this paper, this card could be done with the soft succulent and the soft succulent layers that you saw in the DSP pack. So you could swap these over very easily. And for this card, we're going to make a fun fold, but I want to show you a way of making it a little bit easier by making measurements easier. So I've got a half sheet of A4 card here, as I normally do for doing a portrait card. But before I start to score this, I'm first of all going to trim it to 8 inches. It's actually 8 1/4 inches. Yeah, 8 1/4. But we're going to trim it to 8 inches. So I've got it lined up at 8 there. This might be a little bit off the... No, it's just on the video. I just managed it. So we're going to trim that to 8. Then I can fold that back in. Yeah. And then we're going to use the scoring blade. Make sure the cutting blade is well out of the way. You don't want to cut your card at this point. You were going to score it at 4 inches. And then I'm going to flip it, because I want it to fold the other way, and score it at 6 inches here. So again, make sure you've got the light scoring blade. Don't want to cut it. And then we're going to have a zigzag fold card, a Z fold card. So I like to fold, so you can just see, let me check, that the score line goes down just here. So I'm going to fold that way, and I want my bone folder like that. And then we're going to fold back on itself to make that Z fold. But trimming it first of all to the 8 inches just makes it easier, and I'll just show you how that fits against a standard envelope. So once we've got this done, that will fit in a standard envelope with just a little bit of extra wiggle room. Not very much. So that is our card front, and when you get your make and take pack, it will have already been cut and folded for you. But I wanted to show how you do that if you're wanting to do this again yourself at home. Now I've already got my paper cut to 5.5 inches deep, the amount that I want for a card front. And what I'm going to do now is cut my 2 panels. So this is 2 inches. So I actually want to cut this to 1 3/4 to give me that little margin all around. So when I put this onto here, then that's got a nice even margin always around. But I'm going to put a insert into here, and I've cut this insert, instead of 3 7/8, this is actually 3 3/4, because we've trimmed a little bit off at a standard size. It's still 5.5, so we're going to have that on the back there. So we're actually not going to trim, we're going to cut this, and the reason I've done it from this side is so that we get a continuous pattern. But what we're wanting to do, instead of it being 1 3/4, we're just adding on another 1/8 of an inch. So it's going to be 1 7/8 inches here and cut. And that will then give us, let me pop this down. So we're going to adhere this to the insert here, and I'm just going to hold these in place to show you how this will look. So we're going to have that there like that, which means that you shouldn't have any major white showing, because we don't really, that's going to have a little bit of a gap on the pale papaya showing, but we don't really want the white showing, so that's why we've done it like that. I've already used the Something Fancy. We've got nesting labels, and there's actually 3 sizes of this, so I've gone for the biggest and the second biggest for these, but there is actually another smaller one in there, and of course that's the one that we used on the last card that can go in there. Of course you could go for any of these, they work great, but I've already cut my labels, one in the pale papaya retiring colour and one in basic white. And the fun thing about this is that depending on what a sentiment you're using, you could either pop it on the card front that way, or you can pop it on the card front that way. So that's what we're going to do. Right, so now I'm going to start adhering these together. So I'm just going to pop this on that folded card front, and just get that out of there. And like I say, I wanted to keep the pattern continuous so that it just looks that little bit tidier on the front. So I'm just trying to get this fairly even, always around, like that. And now I want to stamp this before I add this. And I'm going to use the Something Fancy. I'm just using the thank you on the outside, and then this may the good that you do come back to you for the inside. And I'm going to use Calypso Coral because this works with these colours. It kind of goes a shade darker than the pale papaya. So shame that we're using the pale papaya. But as in colours, they do get replaced every 2 years, except when they come back as a new colour. So, right, so there's my sentiment, and now I can stick this to the other edge of this paper. And you might want to use wet glue for this, just so that you can slide it into position. I'm taking a chance on this, so I've got to get it right. Basically, I'll just lay that down, nudge it, and then press. So that then is going inside. So this is a fun fold, but it's not too difficult. It's not, especially when, as I say, you trim your card in the first place to make the measurements easier. It really makes a big difference. So there we go. Just nudge that up a touch, because I think I've got a little bit more margin at the base on the front. And sorry if you can hear the dog snoring in the background. So there we are. So we've got that for our card. Now for this, I am just going to use the thank you, and I'm having it turned around this way like this. So very much up to you which way around you want to do it. Again, I'm going to use the Calypso Coral. And I just want that about there. And if you wanted to make this a little bit fancier, then you could have had it turned around that way, maybe have a small sentiment at the bottom and stamp an image above. I'm keeping this fairly simple. I like these papers, so I'm popping this on direct because I don't want to be adding too many layers, and that's just going to go in the centre there, like that. And then when I'm happy, just turn it over and press from the back. And I'm actually going to pop it on dimensionals. I need to make sure my dimensionals are on this half, so I'm going to flip it over like that. And get that sort of centered side to side, and I just want my dimensionals on the back here. Oops. I don't want them going over onto here, because otherwise we're just going to stick it to the back of the card and then you can't open it. And I'm going to have that there again, just trying to make it sure that it's centered side to side. And then to finish it, you'll get just a trio of these loose flower flourishes, and you'll get a mix of this polished pink and the pale papaya. You'll get a cup, one large and two small flowers, just depending on which colours they are. There we go. I'm going to go, oops, I've done that wrong again. There we are. Have it that way around. And you can add these with wet glue, but you will have to wait for it to dry. I tend to prefer to use mini glue dots and just pick those up. And I'm going to pop these on here. If you've decorated this, then you might want to pop your little flowers in the corner instead. Entirely up to you. And pick that up. Now, a mini glue dot's a little bit big for one of these little flowers, so I'm just tucking over the extra bit of glue dot on it, and then pop it down. Have that there like that. So that is how I do that. I pick up my glue dot, turn it over, and then just fold in the extra bits that are overlapping. Makes it a tiny bit bulkier, but not too bad for posting, etc. So that is our final card for tonight. So I hope that this has been useful to you. Let me bring the other cards back in. Move that out of the way. So we've got the two Delicate Desert, and we've got the two Kaleidoscope kit cards. So like I say, don't forget, if you're placing an order, don't forget to get any retiring items that you want before they disappear forever. And if you need any help ordering, please get in touch, and I'll help however I can. I hope that you've enjoyed the online workshop, and as always, I'll be back on the first Wednesday next month with the next one from the new catalogue. Bye for now.